Welcome to RGBA, where we cover technology news, gadgets, with the occasional coffee and productivity discussion. This is episode number 24. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co host, Tyler Minard. This week, we discuss the death of the Note, an App Store soap opera, and the second death of a great man.
So last week we recorded maybe 5 hours in too early because we had big news on the Dash app and all this kerfuffle, I think we're gonna call with the App Store.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Just to recap everything, Wednesday of two weeks ago, Wednesday, the Dash developer released a blog post saying, "Hey, my app has been closed. My App Store account has been closed. My app's removed from the App Store. Please come and transfer your licenses on my website and everything." And then everybody on Twitter, the whole community was saying, this is not okay. We have no reason, yada, yada, yada. A couple days later, Monday, Apple released exactly why they removed the app, basically saying he had two accounts that were linked together. And okay, so basically the second account was making fraudulent reviews and rating a bunch of other apps, and it was just not complying with the developer rules. So this is Apple releases this, and then a couple of hours later on Monday night, the Dash developer released another blog post explaining the whole story from his side. So what happened during the time his account was closed. And Monday, he also released a call he had with the Apple PR team, saying that on the call you hear the Apple exec saying, "I'm been talking with Phil, and this is what we want you to do. We want you to write a blog post that explains that Apple was not wrong to close your account because your two accounts were linked and everything." And the developer is kind of reluctant to write the draft post, I think.
Yeah, but one problem also that there is with this situation is that the developers' accounts are linked legally by the same legal entity.
Yeah.
And they also share the same credit card and devices.
And same basic information too, so it's
so
kind of obvious.
From Apple's point of view, they could not know that this was two different persons doing two different things. And legally binding, this is the same legal entity. So they were right by assuming that both accounts were the same thing. And by closing one, they closed the other, which is not necessarily what the developer wanted, but that's, from their point of view, what makes sense.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's maybe wrong on Apple's part is not if they really didn't advise both accounts that they were closing. If they only advised the account that was making fake reviews and everything.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this will be done from now on.
Yeah.
They will probably modify the system and communicate with all the accounts the same information, because they cannot know which one is the main, in quotes, account. So they have to contact both and tell them the situation and what they can do to resolve it.
Okay, so after the call, the developer wrote a blog post and sent a draft to the Apple exec, and he said he never heard back from them.
Yeah, but that's kind of expected after you're kind of going full public with the phone call clip.
Yes, but he sent the blog post, the draft, to them before going public. Okay. Well, that's what they say.
Okay.
That's the timeline we have. And then he said he put the blog post public. He put the telephone call public because he wasn't getting any response from the draft, but that's not going to help.
No, especially if you don't give them enough time. I'm guessing that Phil doesn't have only this case to deal with. There's probably other stuff on his plate, on his daily plate.
So the whole thing is just a mess.
Yeah. And I more concluded this with basically saying, okay, this was mishandled on both sides. Just forget about it, and Apple reactivated the developer's account only one, the one that has Dash on it. Because right now, what happens when Apple closes a developer account is that you don't have access to the app, even though you purchased it.
You can't re-download
So
it.
when you asked me last week if I had it, I said, yeah, for many, many years. I looked into my past purchases, but I couldn't find it. And I remember that was one of the first apps I downloaded from the App Store. So the Mac App Store. So I'm like, hey, where is it? But then I realized that yes, if an account is terminated, you lose all possibility of installing the app. Even though you might have just paid for it like 2 days ago, and maybe your computer crashed, you restored, then you want to reinstall the app.
Or just you
Will
get a new
forbid-
computer, you get a new device, you can't get it anymore.
Yeah, even a new device, yeah. So this is pretty bad, but let's see in the coming weeks. Maybe Apple will be waiting a few weeks for the dust
Blow
to
over.
settle,
Yeah.
and hopefully they're going to reinstate his account.
And now he I think the developer contacted iMore and said the whole story. So he explains everything from his part.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything about the transfer of account and everything, how that works. It's kind of sketchy if you ask me.
Yeah, kind of transferring apps because you don't use them anymore to somebody else, but they're still your apps. They're still using your bundle IDs.
And then saying you're not aware of all the activity that's been going on that account too is kind of weird.
Yeah, especially if it's your mom, kind of know your mom.
Yeah.
So you might at least phone her once a few weeks.
And he said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So on the case of the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, we have some more news. Last week, I don't know if you remember, we discussed this, and you mentioned that you only saw exploding Note 7 in the US. And I figured that was probably because of a different hardware specifications. But then I think like the next day in the news, I saw a video of an exploding Galaxy Note 7 in a Burger King in Korea. So you got them in Korea, you got them also many other places. In the show notes, I'll provide links to different articles and videos for that. And the result of this, still having problems with the replacements, is that now they are completely banned from flights. So, like you said, the customs guy, security, was asking you if you had a Note 7, like if you had traveled to a mad cow disease country recently. Yeah. But now it's basically, this is from like 2 days ago, it's basically like completely banned from all flights. So I don't think you can even bring it with you if you have one. So.
And I don't know if it was the case last week when we recorded, but the Samsung completely discontinued the Note 7.
Yeah, that is completely discontinued. People, like I said, were hoping that next year they'll make a new model, a new name. Mike Hurley even proposed something with a cool adjective like
Arctic.
Freeze or Arctic or Glacier or whatever to kind of go against everything that has been too hot for the Note 7.
And I think they estimated 5 billion in losses for this whole situation.
Yeah, I think that they recently had a quarter end, and it was not even showing in the results. So probably in 3 months we'll hear the real impact on their finance. But I think they can manage it. They're going to crank out more of the other device. So also, Daring Fireball linked a post on an article from New York Times, I think. Yeah, New York Times, explaining why Samsung is abandoning. Well, customers are abandoning the Note 7. Yeah, it's interesting, but there's one part that says that it was packed with innovation, and that's why they had problems. Like he said, and like I think also, this really sounds like a PR turnaround of events. You don't pack innovation in a phone, and that's why it becomes dangerous. It's just that you probably packed in innovation that was not complete or fully developed or fully tested.
But how did this not come up in testing and quality assurance?
In the article, they're saying that the different departments were not able to communicate between them the information they gathered by email or by written documentation. So everything has to be done orally. So possibly that there were problems that were raised, but as it happens when people talk with their execs, they might be shy, they might not emphasis enough on the problem. And since it was just orally, it was probably discarded and just never took into consideration.
Yeah, sorry, boss. My phone kind of burns.
Is it really that hot? No.
No, no, it's fine. Okay.
Okay,
Continue.
good.
Continue on.
Yeah,
Move along.
move along. Yeah. There's also somebody on Twitter called Arthur97 that posted a picture from Asia that might explain why the Samsung Note 7 battery explodes. The space between the battery and the external casing of the phone might be too small. And also, it has a curved edge, and the battery might go too high. So, what happens is that the absolute corner of the battery touches the external casing, and maybe because of assembly processes, or basically just an impact or a drop, the battery anode and cathodes might touch inside and create a short circuit. So basically what a battery is layered sheets of metal with different materials, lithium ion or other. And all these little sheets of metals are separated by some insulation material. But if they touch, they can create a spark and a short circuit. And that is probably what happened, according to this report from Asia that he just took a screenshot of. So it makes sense. Samsung trying to cram the biggest battery possible in the same case as last year. But if that's the problem, I think it's something that's kind of easy to see and to spot in quality testing. So.
And also they might have tested with not exactly this model of battery or something like that.
Oh yeah, possible. Yes, they could have used like a pre-production unit that was smaller, and then they just said, okay, for the final version, just put the biggest battery we can put in these dimensions.
It's the same physical battery. It's just not the same model. So that's the one that's blowing up right now.
Yeah. So no more Note 7.
And I think the whole Galaxy name is going to have to be changed. You think they can keep the Galaxy, the whole line?
Note? Yeah, I think because most of the articles were just using the shorthand version of Note 7.
Note 7, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you would see Samsung Galaxy Note 7, but most often than not, it was just Note 7.
Right.
So has it happened on Twitter often? People die but are not really dead. One of the most famous one is Morgan Freeman, who was probably declared dead like 10 times over the last decade. And now that Twitter and Facebook are there, these news actually like spark like wildfire, and even
they go viral.
Publications, yeah, but even serious publications have their articles ready for when people are going to die, and they just post them online. And this time, it's not exactly the same thing. Dennis Ritchie, which is the inventor of the C language and co-inventor of Unix, died in 2011, which is exactly 5 years ago. And Malik, a reputed blogger and photographer, posted a link, probably by mistake, or maybe he did not properly phrase it in that little 140 characters. And basically, it sounded like he was just announcing the death of this man. But being popular, this was catched on by many other people, and Dennis Ritchie was now dead again. So everybody, even though he sent a second tweet saying that it
was too late,
he was wrong, he was too late. Everybody was covering it, and did I heard that even like some serious journal actually reposted their obituary or something like that?
I don't know, but to their account, they got the month and the day right. They just missed the year.
Yeah, but it's in the URL. Everybody was pointing to the Wired article. So, and well, for bloggers that are listening, you probably already saw that in your own publications. People end up on your website, probably from a Google search or something, and they enter a comment that saying that you are wrong or whatever. But they did not realize that this post was like from 10 years ago. Because I've got posts from 2006 and 2007, and people go on there complaining that the information is not right, that's not how it works.
Hey, you said the iPhone 3GS was the best iPhone right now. You're so wrong. There's an iPhone 7 is so much better.
Yeah, exactly. kind of like that. But they never look at the date, and no matter how big or how important you put the date on, they won't realize it, even if it's in the URL. Usually in the URL, you got the year, month, and day, and they just never look at that.
Yeah, Safari hides the URL by default.
Oh yeah, that might be a reason why they just keep the domain, right?
You have to go in the settings and open it up.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons. So, for your next visit to the Apple Store, there might be some little changes over there. Apple has started to remove the security tethers on iPhone. So, if you already went to the Apple Store, you know that the phone have a little wire and a little puck stick to themselves. That when this puck is removed, there's an alarm that is sounding very, very strongly. So Apple is actually removing those tether because they're saying that it kind of
ruins the experience.
Yeah, because you want to handle the phone, maybe try a case, put it in your pocket. So they are actually saying that they're not afraid of thieves because they know which devices are demo units, and they can be like wiped remotely.
Yeah, with Find My iPhone.
Yeah, and they cannot be reused after that. So.
And I think if you pass the door, it's going to ring anyways. So if you try to seal it, it's going to ring, and then if you manage to seal it, you're going to have a brick anyways.
Yeah, unless you want to make a collection of bricks, there's no really reason to do that. On the iPhone 7, we now have reports of what happens when the home button fails. The iPhone 7 is the first one to have a pressure-sensitive home button that doesn't click. So it's a hardware button, but it's not a movable part. So what happens when the button fails? There's a little pop-up that comes up, and Apple says that you can use the temporary on-screen button. So they add you kind of like the accessibility features when your home button is broken, or if you're in Asia and you want to keep your home button working, you can put the little floating home button on the screen device itself.
But how does it break?
This report was, I think the guy had a crash or something, and he rebooted, and the home button was not working properly. So It's probably just a software issue.
Because it's not moving anymore, so it can't like physically break. I guess if it's all scratched up, maybe it won't be able to sense anymore or something.
Well, there are different parts, so probably that there's a connector inside. So maybe if the connector comes loose, which happened in the past for different devices, so that could be it. Or maybe, short circuit. Maybe a drop broke the connection between the button and the phone.
I hope this doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, me either. Me too, because it's like the first one with that kind of button, and rumors are that next year it's going to be integrated into the screen itself. So that could be even worse.
So the news broke yesterday, or 2 days ago, that Apple is selling SIM-free iPhones. I'm not exactly sure to understand what this means. I think you had more insight from the iPads. It's like a CDMA phone, so there's absolutely no SIM door, nothing, right?
Yeah, well, the iPad Pro, the Baby Pro, has a SIM door, but by default, if you don't have any SIM and you go in the LTE settings, you are offered 2 plans to choose from, which are data plans that are pay per day if you want, or pay per month. So it's basically you just enable it and you start paying, and when you're done, you just close the account if you want. So I'm guessing that this is the same thing for the iPhone, that you will have a list of local carriers from which to choose, and they will be linked to your credit card, I'm guessing, and you will be able to activate your account like that, or maybe provide an address and get a regular phone bill like you would before.
Okay, so say I just buy one of these. I can't have my Rogers plan on this, right?
For the moment, no, but maybe if this comes to Canada eventually, you would be able to get like Rogers, TELUS, Bell, Koodo, Fido, and every other providers.
And just transfer my existing plan? Or it's more for like prepaid, not prepaid, but pay-as-you-go plans?
It's more for pay-as-you-go, and if you want, you will probably be able to change providers, but not just transfer your plan. So let's say you're fed up with your current provider, you can probably on the phone switch providers.
Okay.
Because basically what happens is instead of providing you with a SIM that has a unique ID, so when you put in your phone, your operator knows who you are. Basically, you're just asking your operator via the internet for a virtual SIM ID, and that's what the phone uses and broadcasts to the network. So the change really has to happen on the provider side because Rogers or Telus or whatever need to have a list of SIMs numbers and a list of virtual SIMs. And they have to provide you with one when you request a new one and manage when you discard it or when you want a new one or whatever. It's more on their side because they're the one that are asking your phone for its ID when connecting to the network.
Okay. And also on the iPhone side, the Jet Black is now available for pickup in
Almost everywhere.
Yeah, most every store.
I don't know about the size though. I don't know if
not
there's
not the plus, just the 7.
Okay. Yeah, so possibly Apple saw that the initial demand was way bigger, and now they're actually delivering the extra capacity that they ask for their manufacturing plans. So it takes about a month to get more stock. So, and what about the new BMW 5 Series?
So the car leaked this week. Nobody cares. It's not an Apple device, so nobody cares. No, but the big thing is it's introducing wireless CarPlay. So CarPlay is already available throughout the whole range, but now this is the first one completely wireless.
Yeah.
Hopefully
the touchscreen will be good quality.
Yeah. I think you had... Did you ever try CarPlay? Did you try it?
Yeah, I tried it when I went to Europe this summer. I tried it in my Opel rental car. The idea is nice. The way that you just plug your phone and it pops up on screen, that's perfect. The screen was a touchscreen, but not a...
it was capacitive touch?
Yeah, it was... resistive.
Resistive touch.
Resistive screen instead of capacitive like the iPhone. So you had to press harder.
Yeah, you feel the screen flex, and you actually have to like touch.
Yeah, and also you can still use a device while it's plugged in to do something else, but whatever sounds come from the device gets also into your music. So, for example, I was plugged in, I was playing some music, but my kids in the back seat were using the phone for games. So all the games effect were all the beeps and bloops were on the speakers of the car too. So that wasn't so fun. So the integration is not perfect. And once again, since Apple doesn't control the hardware and the software can be cheaper or less reliable, which is the case from my experience. So they're still... It's not like they can tell the manufacturers of car, like, okay, this is a reference device. You have to put this type of screen, this type of hardware for it to work better. They just have to say, see, you have a system. Can I plug in and piggyback on it? But they don't have any word to say on the actual system itself. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, there's only guidelines. There's no set standards or nothing.
Or even guidelines, it's probably just put a touchscreen. That's not enough.
Yeah. And
on the smart home side, Amazon released a new Amazon Music plan for $4 per month, which is Echo only. So if you have an Amazon Echo or Echo Dot, you can now subscribe to Amazon Music for $4 per month instead of, $15, I think? No, $8 per month if you're Prime, or $10 if you're not a Prime member. So you're saving some money there if you already have the device. But the only restriction is that it can only be played on the device itself, on the Echo devices. So
I think the Echo is starting to be available in other countries besides the US.
Yes, it came in the UK, Germany, and Austria. It's coming later. So yeah, UK is done, Germany and Austria later this year.
And there's this whole gray market of buying them to get them to work elsewhere. But I think not all the services are available, like the weather and all that.
Yes, but most of the services are like IFTTT. They're like worldwide, so it's not a big problem unless you really ask something local, or if you want, let's say in the UK, there's BBC stuff on the Echo, so you can probably launch BBC Radio or get some BBC news directly just by voice demands, which is not available everywhere else. So these are very specific to your country. But the rest of the features, like integration with Spotify, with Amazon Music, you can even ask your Echo to purchase something from Amazon for you.
That's spooky.
Well, yes, especially if you have friends who like to do pranks, or if you have kids who like to, or heard you tell Alexa to buy something, they're gonna say, "Oh, Alexa, buy me an iPad." So
I'd like it to do conversions of units in the kitchen,
yeah,
because
But
we
does
have the same thing. We have the not the same thing. I mean, we have the problem of if we look up recipes in the States, or if we look up Canadian recipes, they're either in
imperial
or metric units. So
metric units, yeah.
sometimes it's a mess.
Yes, well, it all depends how you do your cooking. Putumts.
What do you mean?
You do a mess in the kitchen.
Okay, never mind. I was a little slow on that one.
Yeah, it's a bit early. It's 10 a.m. in the Saturday morning, so
Yeah. I need a second coffee.
that's what I'm drinking right now. All right, that's it for this week. I think it's a short episode. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/24, and you can find us on all the social networks with RGBAfm. You can also listen to our shows or past shows on many platforms like Overcast, Stitcher, Player FM, you name it, we're there. And yeah, so you can find us on Twitter. My handle is Valia, VALLIERES.
And mine is Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Okay, so that's it for this week. So have a nice day.
Have a nice week.